about knowing characters too. That's another question that I constantly hear on someone pop in the comments. You know, well, should I know these characters? Like, what if I don't know this character? Should I buy this figure? Or some people actually seem to feel like a weird kind of guilt about it. I'm sure everyone has their own take on it, but my personal take on it is you absolutely don't need to know a character because, as Pedro said, it's a piece of art. And there's also a really cool effect that can sometimes happen where you kind of like learn a character backwards. So you're like, oh my god, I love, you know, who is that? Wow. And then the next thing you know, you might go and like watch the anime or read a manga that led to the figure to be made, and then, you know, you may become a fan. So it's really cool where you can kind of discover another part of this whole genre of things that we love backwards by like finding a toy first and then learning about it.
That happens to me all the time.
All the time. And you also find, like, if any of you take photos of your toys, if you buy a toy just because you really like the way it looks and then you start photographing it, it's so easy to develop a love affair with the toy or with the character and be like, wow, I have to learn more about this. But like looking at these characters through a lens is another thing about them that I just think is really awesome about collecting. So anyway, I wanted to bring up the point really quick because we didn't get a chance to talk about it. Improv. How people perceive collectors, because we talked about it on the podcast with you from my website before, but you know, guys, for instance, will have this constant kind of joke like, oh, well, I can't have too many figures in my bedroom, or I can't have any not safe for work figures in my bedroom, because when a girl comes over, they're just going to be like, yeah, I gotta go. So we wanted to kind of talk about that briefly and about our take on like how the outside world kind of views you as a collector, especially if you're really hardcore and you have hundreds of figures. Anyway, so Pedro, you also have like a really serious collection. I've seen yours before. So how do you feel about like how do people in your life perceive collecting?
Well, at first, most of the people in my life just didn't really, not that they didn't really understand, but they just kind of didn't see the point of me sinking, you know, hundreds of dollars over a long period of time on toys that most of them I couldn't even, you know, play with. Like I said, they could understand if I could take it and play pretend, but since they're just standing around and they're opinion collecting dusty, you know, they didn't really dig it. And that kind of bugged me for a while, but eventually just came to the realization that I don't bloody care. I like them, and it's part of what I am. Part of me that enjoys having this visual stimulus all over my room. And if people don't like it and I bring somebody back, then they can leave and never come back. That's just how I am. If you can't dig something like that and it's such an integral part of my life, then too bad.
Yeah, I support that. Abel, you probably are like the most hardcore of all of us. Like how do you interact with, you know, like when people come over, are they like, wow, what are these skyscrapers of boxes in your living room?
You own stock in this company.
Actually, something funny happened once. I used to have a roommate, and he likes fighting games. I'm more of a collector, he's more of a fighting game enthusiast, and there was a tournament nearby, and he let somebody stay in the place for a night because they needed a crash space. So I had my boxes. He actually asked me, so are you a dealer or something? No, it's actually my personal collection. Now, I think collectibles at the end of the day is just like any other hobby. Some people may get it, some people may not get it. So if they get it, that's fine. You know, that's somebody that you can share the enthusiasm with. If they don't get it, well, that's their loss, right? I mean, beauty at the end of the day is on the eye of the beholder. I love this figure. So something that I learned kind of the hard way is that hobby is something that you do for your own sake. If people don't want to understand it, it's fine. You don't have to push on anybody, but it doesn't need to make you stop enjoying what you enjoy. I think in general the same thing happens to anime. We are like anime, that's why we're here, right? Some people may make fun of it, some people may think it's cartoon porn, but it won't stop us from enjoying it, right? Same thing for figures. It's just a little part of the hobby.
Agreed. Clint, care to weigh in on that?
I think, well, I used to be really like uptight about it. Like I'd be like, oh man, they don't like call me a freak or whatever. But then after a while, I was like, who cares? I mean, you know, I like this stuff, and it's my house. So it's like, I invited you to my house. Don't call me a freak in my house. You probably won't. So it's all cool. And actually, I have friends who are weirder than I am, so it all works out. But yeah, most people when they come in, there's one of two reactions. One is or three reactions. One is really cool, like, you know, they'll stand there and look through my cases. The other reaction is like, you know, they pretend it's, you know, they don't mention it. And then there's the one where they look everywhere but my cases. So like, you know, there's the whole avoidance issue. It's like, I just pointed out to them just to get it over with, like, dude, yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, I can relate to that too. I can definitely relate to what Clint said about like being super nervous about it. Because you know, most of my friends are kind of on the nerdy side and obviously, you know, collect stuff. But like when new people come into your life sometimes, even if they're a little nerdier, they're like, oh, I like games, or oh, I saw Full Metal Alchemist. You're like, okay, great, wait till you come over to my house. Yeah, I used to be a little bit nervous about it, and I think that it's something that's had to take some getting used to. However, I think I have to bring up a book called Otakon that Danny Chu has been promoting for the last couple of years. I feel like Otakon has kind of changed the scene of figure collectors in general. Seeing that many people like proudly showing off their collections in their bedrooms versus kind of like hiding in them like they're, you know, a cave you should be ashamed of. I think that was really something that was exhilarating for a lot of collectors. I know it was for me, and I'm sure at least some of you can agree with that. But yeah, and I think also, you know, conventions like this are another thing that help us kind of relate, right? I mean, you know, 27,000 people, obviously some of the rest of them are also interested in figures, or the dealer's room wouldn't have a line that goes around the entire convention on the first day. So, you know, I'm sure it affects everyone's life to some degree, but as a whole, I'm also, you know, proud of what I do with them. And yeah, I've had more than one person be like, wow, you take photos of figures? And I've learned to be like, yeah, I do. And I like it. It makes me happy. So.
Just making sure anybody here is familiar with Danny Chu? Who is not? Anybody who's not familiar with Danny Chu? Okay. Danny Chu is a blogger. He started around 2005 or so. He has become some sort of collecting celebrity or otaku celebrity. He started collecting Gundams, but now he pretty much has a huge blog with a huge audience. So what he did is that he published a couple of books. They're called Otakon. The first book is about cosplayers on the international scene from Japan. The other one that he published is about collector rooms. And it's kind of interesting the way he portrays things. He kind of tries to make the point that collecting is actually a cool thing to do, which I think is a kind of attitude that we all collectors need to have. It's something that we enjoy. We shouldn't be ashamed of it, even if people don't get it.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to have something out there kind of portraying the hobby as something like a little sexier and cooler, which is what those books do, rather than like, hey, I'm a drooling otaku that like hides in my room and can't talk to people. Because, you know, we're not all like that. So it'd be nice to be seen that way. Abel, should we move on to the... Well, unless you talk about people want to talk about Wonder Festival?
Who knows what is Wonder Festival?
Okay.
Who doesn't know what is Wonder Festival?
Okay.
What is Wonder Festival?
Wonder Festival is an event that happens in Japan every year. Actually, I think aren't there two Wonfest events, summer and winter, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's probably the most exciting time for collectors of Japanese figures. We have a Japanese correspondent at Tomopop who goes to Wonder Festival for us, takes photos, and they stay up all night to upload them every time the events happen, just so we can get that stuff up first. But it's so exciting that it doesn't even matter, it's not tiresome. And some of the photos that we're showing here are from this year's Wonder Festival, which was just last weekend. So as you can see, there's some really, really exciting new collectibles coming our way. I think, gosh, there's a couple of really cool like Black Rock Shooter figures that I'm excited about. What is that with her face in that photo?
I think she's like trying to read something.
I don't, something is,
I think it was a painting.
but like, yeah, the Mega, I mean, my God, those are so cool. Like the Mega Mans, I mean, there's some really exciting stuff that came out of this last year's Wonder Festival. Good Smile, of course, had a huge showing, as usual. So Expo, which is awesome. Love plush figures. So there's a lot to look forward to, I think, and when we get to the Q&A, if anybody wants to talk more about what they're looking forward to, we will. Pedro, did you have any like super hot stuff that you were like, oh my god?
Well, it was just more of the, oh, look at that. Oh my god, that's ridiculous.
Make a Hatsumi
Oh my god, that's like like
Yes! Pre-order this. Pre-order this.
For me, they just showed more One Piece stuff in the Portrait of Pirates, and that always gets me hot and bothered. So, as you saw the photo there with the slight cheer, and yeah, I'm all about that.
Clint, anything that you're like, oh my god, I gotta have it?
Like, I don't think I know their names, but if I saw the picture, I'd be like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, with that. Abel, I'm sure you've got yours down to like a fine science. I'll take it.
Keep it under 2 minutes.
I guess the best way to explain Wonder Festival is Figure Expo, of what everything that is going to come out in the coming 12 months or so.
Like figure con.
For me, it's like pain and suffering. I guess the real question is what I am not interested in. Basically, I guess in my case, the 3 brands that I really like, I think I like about 80% of what they showed. I'm definitely going to go for the Bakemonogatari ones. Who knows Bakemonogatari? Woo! Okay.
Yes.
Good Smile Company and Altair, they're releasing some very good Bakemonogatari figures. They're going to be based on the DVD covers with the full set, like with the books and with the stairs and everything. Too much.
That's too hard. That's what I want.
And Max Factory is really doing a good job with making figures based on the different Vocaloid illustrations. This laboratory is Good Smile Company, but this one is based on, I don't know, what's the name of the song?
No, it was from an original illustration, wasn't it?
I think so. Well, this is, I mean, Max Factory is doing a lot of very nice variations of Miku. They just released this